I went from this to this in a little less than 9 months. Stick around to find out how. Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and some miscellaneous odds and ends. Today is February the 2nd. Today we're going to cover what your diet should look like for you, selecting what your diet should look like, and we're going to talk just briefly about transitioning. First off, let me say, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. You may be wondering, Bob, what in the world are we watching here? Well, you're watching me walk. That's basically it. I try to find interesting topics to talk about. But you're basically just watching me walk, because a little less than 9 months ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand up for 2 to 2.5 minutes at a time without severe pain. And now I'm out here walking every day. If this is not your first time here, welcome back. I'm glad you're here as well. This isn't going to be a super long video today because it's only about 20 minutes till sunset, and of course it's been cloudy. Not just cloudy all day, but it's been raining all day. I had just about given up on getting any walking in today. And it's supposed to start raining again within a couple of hours and rain through the morning tomorrow, so we'll see what tomorrow brings us. But that was on its way to a terrible double negative, where I was going to say I didn't do nothing today. But no, I haven't just been sitting around. There was a fundraiser for the bus ministry where they were selling chili and cornbread lunches, and I helped put it all together because it wasn't here. I mean, they put it together here, but then they delivered it to the places of business. And I told them I can't help deliver stuff like that because it's not very economical to go out and try and deliver lunches all over town in a vehicle that in stop and start traffic maybe gets 9 miles a gallon. But so I was helping inside. First we cut and wrapped all the cornbread, and then we got the chili into bowls, and it was the main thing, though, as this pertains to me, is I spent about 2.5 hours a day basically standing in one place doing things on a table that wasn't quite high enough. So while that's not walking, standing for extended periods of time has always hurt my back. And I did have to take a couple of sit-down breaks, but I thought it went pretty well. Because for anybody with the kinds of back problems I have with spinal stenosis, or even those of you that have had moderate back problems in the past, will recognize that it's not so much the getting up and doing stuff that hurts, but when you have to stand in one place for an extended period of time, that can hurt a lot. So I got through all that, but I am out here now trying to get a couple of laps in between the rainstorms. I did get my squats in yesterday, and it's actually late enough that I've already cooked my meal for the day. So I don't normally walk after I eat, so we'll see how that sits with me. But I while I was waiting on my food to cook, I knocked out my sit-ups and my push-ups. Again, they're not full sit-ups. I'm sitting in a chair, leaning back as far as I dare, and then doing the counter push-ups again. So I think that's what I'm going to do, since I've done that now for a couple of days, alternate days. I'll do my sit-ups and my push-ups one day, the squats the next, walking every day in between, just to see where I get to by the end of February. But on to today's topic. I want to try and keep these February videos a little bit shorter. So to decide what your carnivore diet is going to look like, as long as it comes from an animal, it's pretty much okay. So you have to decide, do I have a lot of issues and I need to eliminate a lot of foods just to start to see what has, do the elimination diet and then slowly add things back in? Or do I want to start it basically a full carnivore diet? So, don't forget you can have beef and pork and chicken. Bacon is pork, you can have that. But many different kinds of fish, canned tuna, canned salmon, sardines, mackerel, eggs. Don't forget the eggs. Good eggs. Eggs are good for you. There's lots of nutrition in an egg. And, of course, deli lunch meats are okay. Hot dogs, ground beef, Spam. Basically, whatever meat you can afford, plus what you think will give you enough variety that you can stick with it. Because, I've been doing the lion diet for quite some time now. And I feel fantastic. But if starting this out, if you had said, Bob, you're only going to get to have beef and salt and water, I probably wouldn't have ever started. Sausages and shrimp cut up together in some butter, fried up, some salt. I actually used a little garlic and pepper on that too, which are not strictly speaking carnivore. But just, figure out what your diet's going to look like, or at least what you think it's going to look like to start with, and come up with a plan for all the different ways you can cook those things. And if you're one of these people that could eat the same thing every day for months on end, go ahead and just pick your favorite cut of steak, fill your freezer up, and go to town. But for a lot of people, that's not going to work out real well. Just remember, beef and its associated fat is about the ratio of fat to protein you want to start with. So if you're going to have pork, unless it's pork belly or bacon or one of the real fatty cuts, but if you're going to have pork roast or pork loin or any of that stuff, you're going to want to either cook it in another kind of grease. You can just use bacon grease, or tallow, or butter or ghee, or any of the above. Chicken is even more lean, so you're going to want to plan ahead and make sure you plan on adding fat to that even after it's cooked. Maybe come up with some kind of buttery chicken where you cook it up however you're going to cook it, whether it's fry it up in some bacon grease or broil it or bake it or whatever you're going to do, and then dump some melted butter over the top of it. But just figure out what you want to do, what you think you can stick with. You know, you might even decide that keto or ketovore is where you need to be. And that's perfectly okay too. Just come up with a plan. You know, as James and Emily over at Ready Set Keto say, on a pretty regular basis, they definitely feel better when they do a carnivore diet rather than their keto diet. But they don't think staying strict carnivore is sustainable for them. You know, James likes lettuce. He likes to have sandwiches wrapped up in lettuce. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you start off by eliminating it, so that then you can see when you add it back in, you're not going to get a reaction to it. So, definitely do what is sustainable for you. And if you think that looks like, 20 carbs a day, then that's where you start. Because realistically, for just getting started, I don't think it matters if you start at 50 carbs or 30 or 20 or 10 or as close to zero as you can get, like I did, as long as you're moving in the right direction. And then, because I think whatever those levels you choose, you're going to see some results. And then, if you discover that, well, everything got a little better, but I still have these 4 issues, well, then you may have to tighten the carbs up a little bit. And as Professor K has said, no, it wasn't Professor K. It was actually listening to Dr. Chafee, I believe. He said that he was probably 90 to 95% carnivore for a good chunk of his life, but didn't realize how much better he would feel. That last 5%, moving on into carnivore from keto, made a huge difference. Maybe it was Bart. Okay, I don't remember who it was that said it. I want to say it was either Professor K or Dr. Chafee, but to be honest, I just don't remember. I hear so many things, talk to so many people, listen to videos and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, obviously, my personal opinion is that everybody should go lion diet. But most people aren't going to be able to stick with lion diet. My personal opinion, and this is just my N=1 experiment, do, 30 or 60 days of lion diet, and then slowly add things back in, because the lion diets, there's not going to be anything that reacts with your body on that diet. Just beef, salt, and water. But again, you have to decide what you think you can stick with. And now, very briefly, I want to talk about transitioning. I did it. I just jumped in with both feet. Professor K does not recommend this, and I don't really recommend it either. But that's just the way I am. One day I was standard American diet. The next day I was carnivore. And I can tell you, there were a lot of sudden and explosive bathroom issues doing it that way. And a few days into it, you're going to get a little sick to your stomach because your gut microbiome is not going to be happy with you. But I just stuck it out, and that's what I went with. The suggested method is you slowly convert by, slowly reducing your carbs and upping your fatty meat intake. And unfortunately, I was going to make a whole different video about how to transition, but in looking at things, I decided I'm not qualified to have that conversation with you. I can give you the general guideline of slowly lowering your carbs and raising your fatty meat accordingly until you get to the carb level you want to be at. And in listening to Professor K, this should happen over 4 to 6 weeks. But if you would like, if you think you're going to have a problem with the transition, this is one of the few times that I would recommend that you consult with somebody that really knows what they're talking about. Bella's Steak and Butter Gal has a monthly thing that I want to say it's like $30 a month, so it's not horribly expensive. I have no idea how much Professor K charges for his one-on-one consults, but if you've got the means, I know exactly, if I was going to do it today, I know exactly who I would call now to get that done. Because Professor K knows his stuff. The reason I stopped walking for a minute to finish up this little section of video here is because there's a light up above me. And you could see that the screen was really starting to get dark there as I went back around the corners. So, unfortunately, that's what I can tell you about transitioning. I don't have any personal experience from that other than that I jumped right in with both feet. I had a lot of bathroom issues, and I don't recommend it. But, if you're one of these people, especially if you don't have to go anywhere for the next couple of weeks, and you know what to expect, go ahead. But don't say you weren't warned. And Professor K says that it's a bad idea and there's some long-term side effects. I don't know what those are. I haven't encountered any of them. Again, you might go to one of his live Q&As and ask him there, or just join the Steak and Butter Gang for a month and see what she has to say, because she's got a lot of smart people working for him. Or for $5, join Dr. Barry's Mighty Network and pose the question to the really smart people in his group. There's a lot of places you can go. Carnivore Quest, Ready Set Keto, and myself, Semi-Retired Bob, all have free Facebook groups. You're welcome to join those. But again, I'm not qualified to comment on transitioning. But that's where things are at on that. But the rain's starting to come again. I thought I might get a couple of laps in here, but for those of you waiting for the music section, I apologize. There's not going to be one of those today because it's starting to rain again and I need to get back inside. But don't forget, get out there. Be 1% better today, folks. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.